Yeah, Brett. Lodge Road and Snowman, Ashland and in. Okay, tally ho.
Hey cycling community, this is Steve Grusis, the Cycling Greek. With my first scheduled race about 6 weeks away, I thought it'd be a good idea for a test. In this particular test, I'm going to put all the things together I've been working on and test myself on a team ride. Based on who was going to be there and who I thought was going to be there, I figured this was going to start off a little fast. So I got there before everyone else did, and I did an easy spin on this 10-minute loop. I wish I'd done 2 loops, but the 10 was good enough. Let's look at the course that we did. Coming into this ride, we had a choice of 2 courses. Since it was a little too cool to do the one that went up to 4,200 feet, we opted for the lower elevation one. It still had climbs in it, lots of flat, and some descents, undulating descents, that would test your upper end. While all tests should have measurable objectives, mine was more subjective. I would compare myself to the known strengths of my teammates on certain parts of the course, as well as the overall ride. A little past the first half of the course contained 4 specific test sections, all dealing with climbs of various character and length. And the second half of the course, we just made it tough. Test 1 came early in the ride. It's a small, steep kicker. How I feel going up this provides me an indication of how I'm going to do on the rest of the ride. I'm being paced up by my teammate Casper. He got into the sport back in the day when he was knee-high to a grasshopper as a junior, and eventually became Cat 1 and stayed there until he left the sport to focus on family and career. Glued to Casper's wheel, I'm pushing watts into 300s and 400s. When I get to the top, I knew this was going to be a good day. My second test was supposed to start on this 1.5 mile, 196 feet of elevation gain climb called Bubblegum. It actually started before then. We caught this group that you're seeing now, and I elected to stay behind them while a teammate of mine, William, went up ahead. After a line of cars went by, my test got modified. My test was to jump from this group over to William, stand William's wheel to the top of Bubblegum. Many seconds later, about 2.5 minutes later, I made contact. Now all I had to do was hang on. As it turned out, I was more nervous about the concept of getting dropped after such a chase, rather than the reality of actually being dropped. I just had to concentrate, and I stayed on his wheel to the top. On our way to the third test, which is about a 4-mile undulating climb, we ran into the rider that's in front of me. He's a recent transplant from Phoenix, Arizona. He is currently living close to the vegan cyclist neighborhood. Don't know what category he is, but from what I observed, he's got to be at least a 2. Having him out there was certainly a blessing, especially because of what I wanted to accomplish. It certainly added validity to my test. Speaking of, this is the beginning of the third test section, 4 miles of undulating climb. The first part of this 4-mile section will just suck the life out of the week. It increases to a certain gradient, just holds it for the first third. Then it tops out, and then it increases to even steeper gradient for the last 2/3. Whatever group ends up in front will probably stay in front for the entire 4-mile section. Thinking that there's a rider behind me, with about 1/3 of this first part to go, we whittled down to 4 riders. After over 5 minutes of steady pacing, we lose another rider. We are either down to 2 or 3. I never looked behind me. At least I hadn't up to that point. Again, about another 5 minutes later, and there's just 2 of us. We are on the last climb of this 4-mile undulation. Even though I was the only guy left with Adam, the new guy, Adam could have left me at any time. In fact, he waited for me at the top, and then drilled it on the last flat section coming to our rest stop as I hung on for dear life. This last test section, where we typically in the past try to wound each other, is made up of a series of short, steep climbs and long, false flats. I was actually expecting it to hurt a little more than it did. I don't know if we didn't go hard enough, or I'm doing better than originally thought.
Good job, Captain. Oh, okay.
We finished the day off with long, strong pulls on the flats. By the end of the ride, there were a number of knackered riders. I was feeling good, not only because of how I felt at the end of the day, but how I did. I'm going to be 65, and other than championships, there aren't any 65 plus category races in this district. So I'm going to have to muster the best form I can for the races that I do. At the very least, I want to be in the mix and have fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. Look for my ride on the Strava link below. And remember, comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.